Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he met yesterday with the local government minister Desmond McKenzie to discuss concerns about the St. Ann Municipal Corporation. Yesterday, the National Integrity Action NIA called for the immediate resignation of chairman of the Municipal Corporation, Mayor Michael Belnavis. The anti-corruption watchdog made the call in light of a Sunday Gleaner investigative report which revealed that the mayor is a director of a private company that captured government land and constructed a building in violation of the Building Act. Mr. Holness says he has not yet received a full brief on the matter at the corporation from the local government minister.
I met with Minister McKenzie this afternoon. We had a brief discussion. He is to give me some more information on it. And I'm always concerned about any allegations of impropriety and corruption. My job is to brief myself properly, bring the people in who are the center of any accusation to get full knowledge. And then once I'm satisfied that there is something there that requires action, then you would know by my past track record that I do act on these matters.
As of July 1, visitors to Jamaica from high-risk countries will be required to upload a valid polymerase chain reaction PCR test result on the Visit Jamaica website. The results should be no more than 7 days old from their expected arrival dates. However, as of July 10, non-residents will be required to present those test results upon arrival to the island. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made that announcement while speaking at a press conference yesterday.
Now, approval for travel to Jamaica on the Visit Jamaica website will be subject to the upload of this valid PCR test. As of July 10, persons visiting Jamaica, that is a non-resident visiting Jamaica from the declared high-risk areas, will be required to present their PCR test. So let me just walk that through a little bit. So yes, we are requiring pre-testing.
Mr. Holness said while the test results will determine approval for entry, a negative result is not a guarantee for entry.
That test will be used to determine approval for entry into Jamaica. And we have put it in that language, but obviously, if you upload a test that is negative, that doesn't mean you will be automatically approved. We still look at other things, but it is highly likely you'll be approved.
Now, the high-risk states include Florida, New York, Arizona, and Texas. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA, wants further details on the pre-testing requirement for non-residents from certain destinations seeking to enter Jamaica as of July 10. President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Omar Robinson, says while he supports the pre-testing requirement, there is a need for further clarification. He's questioning how the government will deal with visitors who have connecting flights through one of the high-risk states.
While we support pre-testing, we need further clarification as this requirement will now only be done for persons traveling from high-risk states. Some questions to be answered, such as how do we discern or validate from which state visitors are from when they have a connecting flight through one of those named states? What will happen to visitors traveling between July 1 to 9? Should there be additional states or should it be the entire U.S.? So the details need to be worked out as this is causing some confusion already, and it clearly needs to be sorted out so that we can explain to our travel partners.
The Ministry of Health is monitoring cases in which patients who have recovered from COVID-19 ended up with complications outside of the respiratory system. Now, some researchers say the virus may attack other systems like the cardiovascular system, leading to stroke and heart attack in patients thought to have recovered. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa McKenzie yesterday revealed that she's aware of some case reports in Jamaica.
What we have done is that from the Ministry of Health perspective, we have been following up our cases that have been discharged. Our discharge protocol involves a 7-day test and interview, and then a 14-day test and interview. So we will be looking how we extend that period over time to see if we require to have 3 months reviews, 6 months reviews for these persons.
Critically ill persons will also be tested to determine if their ailments are related to COVID-19.
All persons that come into hospitals that have these kind of illnesses, we are asking for these persons to be tested. Even if it is not thought to be COVID related, but any persons that are going into our ICUs, any persons that are critically ill, persons with depressed consciousness, strokes, serious illnesses, we are requiring a test to see if there are any issues related to COVID. As we develop the capacity to do antibody testing at the National Public Health Lab, we would also be accompanying that PCR test with an antibody test as well.
Now, the Prime Minister says there are plans to reopen the entertainment sector. Mr. Holness says he's heard the appeals from industry stakeholders. He says the matter will be discussed on Friday at the COVID-19 management meeting. He adds that the government will take a close look at the proposals for the safe reopening of the sector.
Well, we pay close attention to the entertainment industry and our friends in the entertainment industry. We want to get you back up and running, but we want to do it safely. So we'll start the examination of that on Friday. I'm almost certain that the Economic Recovery Task Force would have spent some time looking at some of the protocols as well. So significant work would have been done in some areas of entertainment. So we'll put all of that together, and we should now be in a position within the month of July to see how best we can reopen some of the entertainment venues.
And we take a break now on the Midday News. More stories when we return. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. Where are the zones of special operations? That question from an opposition senator as he refused to support any further extension to the states of emergency SOEs. Andrea Chisholm picks up that story.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness at the JLP's annual meeting in November 2019, promising about 7 more ZOSOs this year.
You are going to hear an announcement of not just 4, but possibly an additional 3 communities. So we are moving very quickly to cover all those 20 communities that we have identified and have them under zones of special operations.
6 months into the new year, and questions from opposition Senator Damian Crawford.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica said on multiple occasions that he would roll out at least 20 more zones of special operation. And to this date, Mr. President, we're still at 2. Therefore, Mr. President, can we get any confidence from the utterances made by the Prime Minister?
The 2 previously declared ZOSOs are in Denham Town, West Kingston and Mount Salem, St. James. In responding to Mr. Crawford, Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Kamina Johnson-Smith, reiterated that an international cooperation agreement valuing €20 million has been signed with the European Union to implement social aspects of ZOSO.
They take resources, they take money, it takes cash to care, yes, and those resources have to be put in place.
In the meantime, another argument to support the use of SOEs to fight crime. 9 SOEs are currently in place, set to expire on July 25.
The fact that the gross and horrendous attack against our police in Horizon Park took place in a state of emergency. The fact that a high percentage of murders that have occurred in this year have taken place within state of emergency. They don't support an argument that the state of emergency is failing. They support the argument as to why the state of emergency are needed.
Senator Crawford argued that the government should focus on systemic issues that lead to crime, for example, unemployment. He adds that SOEs have crippled businesses, including those in the entertainment sector, and again questioned their constitutionality.
There have been evidence, in my opinion, of hints of dictatorship and a joy and enjoyment in putting these rules in place.
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Crawford is echoing a call from the Police Federation for a monument in Heroes Park to honor police officers killed in the line of duty.
We have now where 2 policemen died and they asked for a monument. What is negative about that? And that monument can't be no local place in a crossroad. That monument can't be no police station. We must reposition the police force for them to know that they're heroes on behalf of the society. They die on the line of duty in an effort to protect. It must be in the National Heroes Park. How big is the National Heroes Park, Senator Lambert? Big enough to hold it. It is big enough to hold one monument. Absolutely. For the police force.
He also wants the families of slain police personnel to be compensated in a timely manner.
When they die in the line of duty, Senator Lambert, they're supposed to receive $14 million. Their family is supposed to receive that. Now, when a 26-year-old die and his family only receive 14 million, it's bad in itself. But there have been policemen that died in the line of duty that to this day don't receive their money 6, 7 years after, 5 years after.
That's true.
Don't receive the money. Is it beyond our competence to privatize the life insurance?
Farmers in St. Elizabeth are set to benefit from a $1.5 million agricultural investment. Representatives from the Central Social Development Initiative and the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, made the donation in Santa Cruz on Thursday. More in this report.
In an effort to improve the agricultural production in St. Elizabeth, some 60 farmers were given red peas and peanuts to plant at the RADA's Santa Cruz office. RADA's parish manager, Nathan Samuels, said the farmers were trained in several best practices in planting the crops.
And so the training here today is all about introducing our farmers to think of producing red peas on a larger scale that they are now currently doing.
Managing Director of the Social Jamaica Development Initiative, Damien Young, told TVJ News that the program will expose farmers to modern agricultural technology. Mr. Young said there is a strong interest in the production of peanuts and red peas.
In fact, we have a very keen interest in the local grown red peas. We believe that there is a strong market for the Jamaican red peas, and we believe that red peas should not be a crop that we have to be importing from other countries. Right here in Jamaica and St. Elizabeth in particular, we have enough acreages where we can begin to grow red peas.
Farmers from Amherst and Giddy Hall were the focus of the training exercise. Our news team spoke with some of the farmers.
It's a big improvement and I plan to just work on it, increase my production more and all of that.
Really grateful for it because we can uplift the community from where it are. We can uplift it by more money in the community, can reach help the community by the kids growing up. Each and every one of us and help the country a lot.
Mr. Young said he is looking forward to seeing the farmers being able to supply the Jamaican market.
So we are expecting that within the next 3 to 4 months, we will be able to see the farmers producing after being supplied with some of the startup today. We are expecting to see the farmers utilize the information that they have received here today within a matter of months, 3 to 4 months.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
8 persons, including a 1-year-old, were hospitalized when a Toyota Noah crashed in St. Thomas on Monday. It's reported that about 4:30 p.m., the driver of a Toyota Noah motor car was traveling along the Grand Spend Main Road while overtaking a line of traffic. She encountered another vehicle which was traveling in the opposite direction. The driver then lost control of the vehicle, which hit an embankment, then overturned. The passengers were rushed to the Princess Margaret Hospital. There were no fatalities. News overseas now. The European Union is beginning to open its borders, but not to Americans. The EU published its list of countries allowed to travel the EU bloc as restrictions are lifted. More from the CNN.
This list came out really just a couple of minutes ago, so it's pretty hot off the printing presses, if you will. And there are indeed 15 nations on that list where the EU deems that it's safe to allow citizens from those countries back into the European Union. There's some interesting things on that list. For instance, China is on the list, so Chinese will be allowed to come back to the European Union. But the EU is saying that there needs to be reciprocity, that China also needs to allow EU citizens or citizens from EU countries back into China as well. And then we get to the whole complex of the United States, which of course has been talked about a lot over the past couple of years. The United States did not make the list, but then if you look at the list very carefully, there are a lot of countries on that list who are significantly less wealthy than the U.S. and whose healthcare systems also are a lot less well-funded than that in the U.S. For instance, Algeria, Georgia, Montenegro, Morocco, Tunisia, Rwanda, and Serbia have all made the list because they essentially are deemed by the European Union to have to dealing better with the coronavirus pandemic, to being more efficient at beating back the coronavirus pandemic than the United States.
Time now for sports. There is optimism that this season's schoolboy football season will go ahead, but the lingering thoughts of insufficient resources could jeopardize the pride and joy of high school footballers. For Vice President of the National Parent Teachers Association, Stuart Jacobs, there is to be major assurances given by ISA for parents to be satisfied.
The sanitization areas, and we are going to stick to it. That test be done. Test be done, okay, it might be expensive that all the kids can be tested, but the officials and the coaches and managers who are going to be in constant contact with these kids are tested, because we're talking about a pandemic that doesn't just give you the regular flu or fever, it kills you.
Professor at the University of the West Indies, Rachel Irving agrees.
Find out from other places what is done. Is it feasible? What is the infection rate? Can we protect as best as possible our youngsters? And if we can't answer those questions, then I think it should be scrapped for now.
Schools have been granted the permission to start training as of July 1, but for Holy Trinity coach Devon Anderson, it's not smooth sailing.
Is optimistic of we putting on training sessions and stuff like that. So we are kind of in a limbo right now.
ISA is expected to meet today with the general principal body to discuss the way forward. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.